Well guys, welcome back to the shop and welcome back to my 2001 Beaver Patriot Thunder. What I've been saying is the greatest RV ever made. And if you remember about 3 years ago when I got this thing, even though I said this was a very good RV, I did point out at the very beginning that we had two windows with seal creep. Now what's seal creep? Well, from the late 90s to the early 2000s, CG made windows, dual pane windows for RVs, and they used a seal in between the dual pane glass to keep the moisture out. And I don't know if you can see that, it's starting to creep a little bit down there too. Now in fairness, this one's not that bad, but if we go back here to the bedroom window, this is the one that's really quite bad. And this was not an uncommon problem to see on these CG windows, which was used by a lot of RV manufacturers at the time, most notably Country Coach. Even if you don't have seal creep or CG windows, a very common problem in the RV industry with dual pane windows is moisture or fogged windows. Now luckily, I just have a cosmetic issue with the seal creep. There is no moisture in the glass right here, but if you do have moisture in your dual pane glass, you might still want to follow along with me because we're going to address that. And my good friend Chris with Arizona RV Glass has offered to help me out. Now he's going to go ahead and fix the seal creep, but I'm going to do a little bit of the extra lifting by taking the windows out. Now again, luckily for me, Beaver Motor Coach really built a very nice motorhome. Built a very easy to service window because the valance and the blinds are all mounted together. So I just take off the two screws that are holding this brass angle bracket to the valance. And so with those out, the valance is already loose at the bottom right here. 3 drywall screws, one right there, and then one in the middle for me to take out. But of course, if you guys saw the video about fixing the shades back in Mexico, you would already known how I take these off. See, the blind's already mounted to the valance, and because it's not an electric shade, I don't have to deal with any sort of wires. Everything should be this simple. Now, of course, in fairness, I did already remove the dinette table that was in the way to make things easier. It was just 4 screws on the bottom right there. Made it a lot easier. So now the bedroom window is going to be nearly identical, except that it only has 4 screws. And then both the day-night shade and the valance all come off as one. Every manufacturer be this easy. Now, because this was a luxury RV in 2001, and I guess it still is, they covered the screws with a insert cover. And now there's just going to be a whole bunch of screws because on an RV window, it uses a window ring right here as a clamp to squeeze the outside window against the inside. And there's no screws on the outside. However, let's make sure you get a brand new razor blade, because Beaver built a very high quality RV. They do have a cap seal over the top and the side of clear silicone, and this is a full body paint job. So we do want to cut that sealant loose, because when we pry off the window, we don't want this sealant up here to pull paint off with it. So resist the urge to go into the paint, because we don't want to cut the paint. We're just going to cut along the top of it, and we'll come out afterwards once the window's out of the way, and we'll cut off this old sealant when the window's out of the way. If you take the edge and you cut into the wall right there, you will score the paint and almost guarantee that the paint will pull off with the window too. Now, like I said, that ring on the inside that's screwed down is the clamp. There are no screws on the outside holding it on. It's just going to be a little bit of seal. Usually it's a butyl seal, sometimes it's a foam seal that actually makes it weatherproof. So why does that matter? Well, we don't want to just start taking the screws off the clamp ring on the inside, because like I said, that's the only thing holding the window on. Now if you have 2 people, it's going to be better, but you should go ahead and open the window just like that. And now we have a good place to brace ourselves. But if you are doing it yourself, you want to put some duct tape on, keep the window from falling off as you're taking the clamp ring off. We don't need a lot. We just want to make sure that it doesn't fall off as we're taking the screws off. Now this is all pretty basic information if you're going to be replacing a window. But if you are defogging a window or trying to eliminate seal creep like we are on this one, it's not just the simplest job to do. And that's why I haven't done it for 3 years. It's not a service I offer. Rebuilding and defogging dual pane windows on RVs is a specialized service because almost anybody can change out a window by itself. I mean, after all, I can do it. So all we're going to do is take the screws out of this window clamp ring all the way around. So there's just a split ring. We put the seam on the top. That's usually where I put the seam too, just so it doesn't look bad. And it's such a high quality RV. They put foam right here so that you wouldn't hear the blinds rattling against the metal frame. You can store that out of the way, and then now you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Keep them from rattling against the window. Yeah, looks like that duct tape worked pretty well. So instead of using butyl tape, it looks like they probably just use a foam weather stripping, which is what I like. It's brilliant, it's a lot easier. Hopefully that's what we're gonna do when we put it back on. So now we just have to take the duct tape off, and we'll grab our skill above pry bar right here and work our way around so we don't damage the paint. Sure, it'd be nice to have a helper. Looks like the factory had a shim in there. But this is a pretty good sign. This is all wood, pine wood, and there's no sign of rot or water coming in here. So it is possible for a manufacturer to build a window without leaking. You even notice the corners right here have a lot of coverage. A lot of times the frame barely kisses the cutout, and they're making that cap seal do all the work. So yet again, Beaver did a magnificent job building this motorhome. And if I flip this over, hopefully you can see that's a squishy foam seal right there. But the window itself, it's like one long extrusion that's bent all the way around, and this seamed right here. If you don't rebuild the window correctly, it can still leak. There's a lot of points of failure on this, and I've seen a lot of fly-by-night foggy window RV repair guys not take a lot of pride with the way they tear these windows apart, put them back together, or the sealants that they're using. And I've seen them use the wrong stuff, like really bad, and they leak again. Also, while it's not going to be a problem on my windows, there is such a thing called etching on it. So if you let the moisture stay in there too long, it'll actually stain the inside glass, and you can never get rid of that etching. So it's always a good idea to get rid of that as soon as possible. But why not just replace the window instead of defogging it or worrying about seal creep? Well, that's a valid question, and if you haven't priced out windows. A window like this, if I can even find the right one, is probably going to be about $1,500. And the labor is going to be the exact same amount. Luckily, I do have the information right there. But this is CG, so it's a little bit harder to find this window and this exact size. Even modern windows from Lippard, just for the pane of glass on those new windows that just crank open, you know, like these frameless windows right here from Lippard, this one right here, just that one pane that opens up, is going to be about $400 to $500. That doesn't include the entire window or shipping and handling. It all starts to add up pretty fast. So repairing the window is usually easier, faster, and a heck of a lot cheaper. Now the next step, if you guys remember, we had a nice sharp razor blade. I said we'd get rid of the sealant afterwards. Now we can just go ahead and cut it off very easily once that window's out of the way, so we don't damage the paint. Now it's not necessary to get rid of all of it because clear silicone will stick to clear silicone, but we do want to make sure that we have a good bonding surface. All right, and so with that done, I just have a second window to do. There he is. He's gonna help me out. All right, Chris, You're coming out to help me out with my, not fogged window, though you do foggy windows, but my seal creep on my CG window. I know there's a lot of people out there that think they can do this themselves. What advice would you have for them if they're going to do that?
Always try to use the right materials. Just, for example, the super spacer is very important on these foggies, because if you use butyl, it just makes a mess.
All right, now what's the super spacer?
It comes in 3 different sizes depending on your unit. It's 3/16, quarter, and 5/8.
All right.
So this super spacer, it's made just the right width for your unit, as your frame is this exact same width with those 2 pieces together and the super spacer.
All right. Does it have anything else in it to keep the moisture out from coming back?
Yes, it's desiccant impregnated.
Okay, so it has a desiccant built into it.
Yes.
If it doesn't have that, it's just going to fog up again anyways.
Yes, it'll fail again.
Right.
Yes, and then it'll stay in its original size, and it won't fluctuate like butyl.
Okay.
Butyl will soften in the heat in a cold, and it's gonna fail.
All right.
Fail.
So the most important things: right materials, super spacer, not butyl, and do you cap the seal off afterwards or the glass off? Because you take pride in what you're doing and make sure you do it right the first time, and you don't use silicone, right?
No.
No, no silicone. No. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and help you out, and I'll follow you along the way. I appreciate you. That's Chris with
Arizona RV Glass.
Arizona RV Glass.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to set up his little work area right here. I'll try to stay out of the way, but now you can understand why. This is not a service that I offer because I don't think I have the patience to do this the right way, the same way with windshields. I just lose interest in doing windshields, and I break them every time.
Yes.
Right. So this is butyl. But
Yeah.
it's impregnated rope basically.
Yes.
Right, and that's why you have a seal creep, because the butyl heats up,
And it starts.
it starts to move and starts to
Yeah.
creep.
So the only reason why it doesn't fog up or there's moisture in there and it keeps still holds, it's because of the metal in
Right.
The metal that's.
It's still doing its job. Right.
Yeah. So.
And I'm sure you're just like me. The last thing you ever want to do is to redo your job again. So you want to make sure you do it once. You don't have to come back and do it a second time.
Exactly.
And like you said, it's not incredibly difficult work, but it is tedious, and it is making sure that you're following all the right steps and doing everything correctly with the right materials too. But even taking these window frames apart that you're going to do shortly, there is a science to it to do it right without breaking the glass, because
Exactly.
right.
And
So
without bending your frame.
Right.
Because it is aluminum, but it will bend. It will warp.
right, and we don't have a forming machine over
We
here,
don't.
and that's the seam right there that you're going to come loose, and there you can even see sealant right there where they glue it together.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll get out of your way. All right, so then for the cross brace frame, there's 2 screws, 1 on each side. Making that look simple. So simple.
I'm trying to. What I found, another, where they already try to fix this. That this gets all torn up.
The
And you
rubber
wanna save
insert.
This, you want to save this because you can't just buy it off the shelf.
Right.
So. And what I've seen most of other companies is they think this is part of like the frame or the glass, and I've seen it where they cut it. And when I try to fix it back up, I can't get this, so you're left without a seal.
Yeah, there's lots of places for failure.
For the most part, when it's tempered, it's very resistant, so it can break, but not that easy.
Yeah, I'll find a way to break it really easily. That's not too bad. Simple. So I'll just pull it apart.
You see how this is? I didn't rip it.
Yes, you didn't damage it.
Yep. Just
Take your time and be patient. Oh, you just ripped it
no, it's joint.
at the seam. Hey, you're good there. Yeah.
This is where it requires a little bit of more muscle.
I'm not trustworthy with a knife of that size. I'll make bad choices. Now, on some of these, especially the CGs with Country Coach, I guess Winnebago with the Atwoods too. If you have moisture in there long enough, it'll it'll etch the glass on the inside, right?
When it's got a super spacer that it's composed of metal with Sika beads inside.
Yes.
When it fogs up, you only have about a year before it starts etching into the glass. And that's because I believe it's the combination of the metal, the Sika, and the moisture.
Right.
And compared to a super spacer, that one, if it fogs up, you still have like maybe a year or two.
Okay.
Until it starts etching.
Okay.
The metal one is better because it gives you about 7 to 10 years compared to this one 5 to 7.
Oh, okay.
But if it fogs up with the rubberized one, it doesn't etch the glass.
Okay.
So.
And if it is etched, then you just have to get new glass made,
Glass, yes.
or just deal with it being etched.
We're lucky that it's not that hot where the butyl is all over the place.
Yeah, you sent me a fun video of dealing with some sticky butyl, and I complain about it too, so I understand.
Inside.
Yeah, it's the sticky stuff, and it strings out and heat. It's difficult to deal with. Now, you also said what you like to do, unlike a lot of the window defoggers out there, is wait a day before you install the window back in the opening, right?
Yes, and that's just so the outer adhesive that I put inside from the super spacer, only on the sliders will it get stuck on the truck.
Right.
So you gotta let it dry.
Probably gives it a chance to acclimatize too. And it's important to see this is not tinted, this is clear, and this is tinted. I've seen some guys put windows back together backwards too,
Yeah.
and especially on the Country Coaches where it's like a gold tint on the outside. So you got to make sure that you know what you're doing and pay attention to what you're doing, right?
So the aftermarket tint really hurts also the dual pane.
Okay.
So the way that I was trained is that exactly right. It's a good thing that you pointed out that this is on the inside, this is on the outside. When you aftermarket tint, you put it on the inside piece as well, so the heat gets trapped in between both.
Okay, right, yeah.
It'll break the seal.
Okay.
That's what you'll get, because I've seen newer models, they're just maybe a year or two, and they're already fogged up.
Oh.
And that's because most of the problems I've seen is that it was aftermarket tint, and that'll really hurt it.
All right, what about a lot of people use Reflectix on their windows on the inside to keep the heat out? Will that cause problems, or is not that much of an issue because it's not like an air seal?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
That's not on the glass.
Okay.
It's rather outside, and it will let it breathe.
Okay,
So-
that's good to know. And this is the cording we can kind of see in there. It's like a little wavy metal, right?
Yes.
So that's what actually kept it from fogging up. And so I think the waviness is built into it to allow that metal to expand and contract too. So this will be fun. So don't be precious with razor blades. Replace them when they get dull. right?
Yep.
It'll save you a lot of time. And you like to use glass cleaner too to lubricate so that the butyl doesn't stick to the glass, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Exactly. There goes the seal creep. We don't have to worry about that anymore. It'll look pretty out the window. And of course, everybody always wants to know, what kind of special cleaner are you using? You pick this up at any hardware store. It's really nice. It's foaming. So much better than the spray bottle too.
With the ammonia, it'll compromise the adhesives and.
Okay, that's good to know. So yeah, make sure you aren't using a glass cleaner with ammonia in it, because you can have problems at that point. Let's see if we can't. Untinted and tinted. You look good, Chris. So he just changed his blade again. I think that's the third one he's done just on this one piece of glass. Like he says, tempered glass has a lot of strength to it, but it will scratch easily.
And you always try to do one way
Right,
instead of this way.
right.
Just one way.
No saw in action. I know a lot of aftermarket window repair people will get new pieces of glass cut, and they don't get tempered glass. And that is technically very dangerous, because this is an automobile or a vehicle. And if somebody were to fall into it in a non-tempered glass setting, they could really cause a lot of problems. Do you have new panes of glass made before?
Yes.
And you order them tempered?
Yes.
Yeah.
Always.
I don't think I've ever seen a buffing wheel on a grinder. That's really cool. It's like little felt pads.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just make sure you're nice and wet. And the reason why I do this is because if you try, it's clean as it is. It's very clean right now because there was never moisture in there.
Mm-hmm.
On the ones that are foggy, if you try to get your towels and wipe it with your hand,
Right.
only at the pressure points.
Right. Okay.
Do you clean? And you might think that it's nice and clean.
Uh-huh.
And by experience, I put them back together, and you can actually see these lines.
Right. Once it warms up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the inside. Yeah.
You can see them again.
It's about taking pride in what you're doing and knowing what you're doing.
And so when you do a buffer, it's
Better.
Yep.
All right. So we're going with disposable shop rags, lint-free, I assume.
Yes.
Yes. Try to stay away from the terry cloth, probably. The microfiber cloths.
I've tried the microfiber ones,
Mm-hmm.
and they do a very good job on maybe the first 3 passes,
Mm-hmm.
but then they start getting dirty,
Right.
and then you'll just end up putting the dirt back on the glass. This way, you clean.
As he inspects his own work over there, were you happy with it? You do
Yeah.
good work?
Yeah.
All right, one more to go.
It's got little marks here where the metal
Uh-huh.
part was rubbing
Rubbing.
against the glass,
Uh-huh.
and then when it starts to creep,
Right?
it'll make some markings there.
So it's not etched, it's actually scratched a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. Nothing can be done.
No, you can't really do
Right.
anything about that.
So I shouldn't have waited 4 years to do this, is what you're saying.
Well, on a creepy ones, you don't really.
What is your pricing on something like this?
I price it out by frame.
Okay.
So let's say, for example, your Pilot has 3 sections,
Okay.
and then sometimes your Co-Pilot have 3 sections as well, 3 panes,
Right.
and then
The big
rest
side
of-
windows.
Yeah,
Like-
and the rest of your units, the rest of the frames would have 2.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm gonna do more than one, the Pilots, and most people want their dining set and the kitchen, the pilot, co-pilots, because
Right.
that's what they use the most. I usually charge $450, and that's whatever how many paints they're on there. So you win, I win. When you win when it's 3 paints or more, or 4.
Okay.
And then I win when it's only 2
Okay.
sections. But that's usually what the
So no dynamic pricing on you.
no
The price is what it is. What it is. So how much would this window cost?
450.
$450.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's 450 for both of them.
Right. Do both of them. Pull it out and put the window back in.
Yeah.
Right.
Because a lot of the times you might not see the fogginess on them. Let's say example a customer will say, well, this frame has 2 paints, but only one side is fogged and not the other one. But I'll still do both.
Right.
Because that one eventually will get fogged.
Right. And
Process.
it might have been minorly fogged, but compared to the one that was really fogged,
Yes.
you know, you didn't really notice it. But once you put the new one in, you're like, oh no, I have to take this window all apart again. Right. Might as well do it all at the same time. Even ship it in a foil pack to keep the moisture out of it. That's why it's high quality. And that's why you probably shouldn't trust a company that's only charging $75 to defog a window. Because they're probably not even covering the cost of that. Right? There it is.
So it's desiccant impregnated rubber
Uh-huh.
with a mylar backing. And
Okay.
That's what keeps. This one will absorb the mini moisture that was caught in between while putting it together.
Uh-huh.
And this one would protects it from any moisture coming into it.
Okay. Brilliant. So this has an adhesive on it?
Yes, it's got 2.
Okay, yeah. I can see why you have to have nails to do this. Is there a rhyme or reason for where you start? Just at the 90-degree corner?
It's easier if you start at the corner,
Mhm.
honestly, than
Then the radius.
Radius.
Uh-huh.
But also I try to do it where the corner is going to be on the top side.
Okay.
So if the moisture whatever tries to slip down,
Uh-huh.
it'll go past through it, as compared to putting it on the bottom where the water might sit.
Got it. Okay, you're talking about actual water falling on
Yeah.
top of it, not getting into the seam. Yeah. Because if it's at the bottom of the window, water does like to pool, and it always finds a way in.
Yes. So I always try to leave the room for my where I'm going to put the other sealant.
Okay, right.
So
Because we're going to be going with some urethane to cap it off.
and you want to notch it, but not all the way through.
Okay. See, I wouldn't have done that.
Usually I'll have an assistant holding that in. So
I can be an assistant. I'm sorry. I don't want to get in your way. Anybody can do this, he says. You gotta have some skills to do this.
There's actually a machine for this, but it's very costly,
Uh-huh.
and the setup it takes you longer.
To set it up.
You know.
That we're having a nice sharp razor blade helps too.
Yeah, brand new blades.
Brand new
I
blades.
go through blades like crazy.
Yes.
So
You get your assistant that knows what they're doing, not me.
at,
Because you kind of get one shot at this, right?
yeah, this is a critical point where, yeah, they can't be
Because it can't be off.
opposite.
Right.
¿Listo?
Oh my gosh, you're so glad I didn't help you do that. That's it. Yep. No vacuum pumps, no magical gas you have to pump in there to create a dry zone in there, because it's all just going to escape anyways, especially on a moving RV like this. Yeah. So this is the next step. We're going to go a Sika 295 UV. Yeah. It's basically, is it similar to a windshield urethane?
Yes, you can use this as actually I use this one in the backfills for the windshields.
Okay.
Because this one doesn't get all chalky.
Right.
And it's marine resistant.
Yeah, it does look like it's marine grade.
Yeah.
Chris and I were already having the discussion that no matter how hard you try with urethane, as soon as you start to use it, all your hands get covered with black urethane, no matter how careful and deliberate you're trying to be not to get urethane all over yourself. Yeah, lots of skills. We'll find out how covered you are with urethane after all of this. And the super spacer, you say, comes in 3 sizes, so you need to make sure you get the right one.
Yes.
Or else you made the window too thick or too thin, which is not good. I was wondering why you weren't wearing gloves.
Handy dandy gloves.
Now, the purpose of the urethane, is it to do anything other than as flashing to keep any water from getting in there, or does it actually help glue the glass together, keeps the seal from moving?
All of those things.
All of those things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it is adhesive for glass, and it will get them together, and also moisture barrier.
Right.
So that's why I'm fully confident that you'll get your 5 to 7 years again.
No, I'm confident in it too.
Make sure you squeeze it all the way in.
You're actually trying to force it into the seal there too. You're not just wiping off the excess. That's why you put a little bit extra on there anyways. And then this will bond to the rubber that you're taking, goes back on too?
That's why I wait for it, because I don't want it to do that.
All right, so you don't want it to bond to that rubber. Right. We're talking about this rubber right here. You want that to be free floating.
Yes.
Your urethane's covered on, or gets attached to it. It's kind of on there permanently.
Yep.
So Chris is actually recommending that you let it cure in the shade and not in the sun. That way it cures evenly, would be my guess, so that the outside doesn't like flash and the inside stays.
I don't really know the difference or the reason, but I've noticed that if I've left them on the heat, it's tackier in a few more hours than in the shade.
Oh, it's good to know. Yeah. See, it's all these skills that I wouldn't have known. Good morning. It's been a second day. We did let these set up and cure, so it will not stick to that rubber insert that's going to go around and cushion against the aluminum framing. So we just have to rebuild the windows and get them back installed. All right, so before you rebuild it, you're just going to cut off all the excess urethane that might be sticking out to make sure that the... Oh, I don't even know if it's a seal. Is it more like a cushion to cushion the glass against the aluminum framing?
This?
No, the rubber, that vinyl, right.
Yeah. So
that's what we want to make sure wasn't sticking to the glass, because then if it sticks to the glass, then it's not free floating too, right? And it could crack. Yeah. Reiterate, they don't pull a vacuum on this when they make them at the factory. They don't inject them with argon gas or nitrogen. And none of this is going to withstand atmospheric pressure anyways, driving down the road in American highways, right? With bad suspension. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, right? Besides, if you had a vacuum in here, it would almost be trying to pull the atmosphere in.
Another reason why the seal breaks, it's because of the different elevations and temperatures, so it expands.
Right, we're going to go from sea level to 7,000 feet in one day. We're going to go from 110 degrees in the Arizona desert up to You know, if you were in California, you could go surfing and skiing the exact same day, right? So that's huge temperature swings too, pressure swings. And even residential windows that have the low E gas or argon or whatever you want to call it, they leak out too. So you don't have to spread this really far, you don't have to bend this. In fact, you were saying the smaller windows are the harder ones because they don't flex as much.
They don't flex or open up.
They don't open up so much, right? Yeah, I assume you use a glass cleaner to lubricate like I would.
Stationary first.
Stationary first, tinted side out.
And it's okay if there's a little bit like this.
Little gap?
Yeah, it doesn't mean that it's gonna leak through there.
Right, because this isn't weatherproofing.
No.
So this is a slider. Definitely, this can be replaced without taking the frame apart. You just take all the track out, the felts, and then push it up and in. I've had to do that. But if it's taken apart, much easier.
Push this one all the way in so it locks.
Right.
And that'll tell me that my holes are aligned so I can screw it in there.
That's a good point, yeah. There's also some very important things to remember about when you are putting a window in or rebuilding a window is that there is a top side and a bottom side and a front and a back. Because this is a sliding window, water will get down in here and there are weep holes. Now, these CG windows have weep hole covers that generally get broken off and lost, but luckily mine are not. And obviously, you want the sliding window on the back side or the aft or rear side of the window. So if you're driving down the road, you aren't trying to blow water into the seal right there. And then naturally, the weep holes should always be at the bottom of the window. Be surprised how many times I've seen factories put them at the top. So we have one window rebuilt now. Now, of course, before we put the window in, do want to make sure that we are cleaning the wall to give everything a good chance. Just to get the dirt off so it seals really well. And now another reason why I like to just put the cap seal back on, because there is already silicone here. And it's going to hide that silicone residue if we put silicone back on. Otherwise, you'd have to take a razor blade and solvent and get all that off. Another thing I want to point out is you can see this is actually true gel coat fiberglass, so this is not a Phylon sidewall. And underneath that, that's not 1/8 inch substrate, that's 3/16 substrate. So it is a little bit thicker too. Other people might say having wood in the wall is a bad idea, but here I go. I can show you that it is a good idea. Most houses are built that way. And it does help with a little bit of thermal bridging, even though the window will thermal bridge. And you won't get condensation on your framing, because obviously there will be air inside there too. So we'll take off the old foam seal that was used instead of being butyl, which of course I think is a better choice. Butyl is always going to ooze, whereas foam is a high quality. You can see 25 years later, not dried out, and we saw the window opening wasn't leaking. So it's going to be easier to get that tiny little lip of silicone off by the windows out. We're just going with a pretty standard medium density foam weather stripping you pick up from the big box store. It'll compress down pretty tight. It's almost a little bit memory foamy. It's always a good idea to put the seam at the bottom of the window. You don't want to put a seam at the top of the window, where water can go down in between where the two seals meet. All right, we'll go ahead and put this back in. It's the exact same process as taking it back out, but two people is a lot easier. Now, usually it's best with these trim rings, because it's split on the top like we overcovered. Because if you start and work your way around, a lot of times these like to overlap each other and you have to undo all the screws anyways. And of course they were making sure that we didn't have any exposed paint lines, because this is a full body paint job, so you would want to make sure that it's centered back on the window again. All right, with that, we only have one more window to rebuild and put back in, and it was simple. Well, I mean, simple for me, because I didn't have to do the work. So while Chris puts the second window back together, I'll try to stay out of Chris's way and let Arizona RV glass do what he does the best. I can tell you, I don't generally put this stuff back on because it's such a pain to put back on again, but since you guys are watching, if you guys understood how annoying and tedious this was, you would have said to leave it out too. So I'll just give it one more wash on the inside. Very nice. Okay. That already looks a lot better. What do you think, guys? No sill creep. We put the window valance back on, just like we took it off. And just using some basic 100% silicone in the big box store. Go ahead and put that cap seal back on. So hopefully you can notice that little bit of residue of silicone. Of course, we're only going to go down the sides and the top. We're not going to go underneath, because if water does get behind here, we want it to have an exit path down here. Again, we're going to use our favorite foaming glass cleaner just to kind of tool the edge of it, and then it disappears into the residue. Go ahead and clean the window. Now, on the side of this window, when it was out, there was a label from the factory that said it was made September of 2000. This motorhome was made October of 2000. So that's pretty impressive. Almost just-in-time production. They made the window pretty good, even though it did have seal creep on it. For a very reasonable charge, we were able to salvage these windows, bring new life to them, make the RV a lot better. And we weren't stuck waiting for the factory to locate and send a new window. And for 25 years, I'm gonna say CG built pretty good windows. All right, Chris, what do you think? Are we pleased with the work?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Pleased with it?
I think it looks really good. You definitely increased the value and the functionality of this RV quite a bit. So defog windows and windshields, anything else that you guys do?
No, that's about it.
So that's what you specialize in? Everybody wants to get a hold of you or any work done by you?
Any type of glass, mirrors, shower doors, anything to do with...
Well, you see, that's extra stuff too. Mirrors and shower doors isn't included in windshields and windows.
Has to do with glass.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can get custom mirrors cut and repair shower doors too.
Yes.
All right, that's good to know, because that's a hard one to find too. But if people are looking to get a hold of you to do windshields, defog windows, shower doors, and glass, what should they do?
Call me. Arizona RV Glass, 480-647-7012.
All right, do you have an email?
I have an email, azbestrvglass@icloud.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Chris. I'll get the rest of it put back together because I took it apart. And I can't express how thankful I am for you. This has been bothering me for my entire ownership of the RV, and now it's not going to bother me anymore.
Thank you, James.
Thank you. And now everybody knows how to defog and repair these windows correctly and what to look for if you do have a service that's going to come out and defog your windows too. There is a fine art to it. There is a lot to do and a lot of understanding. One more thing, because you do windshields, do you handle insurance work?
Absolutely.
So you can handle all the paperwork with insurance companies?
Yes.
All right.
I do add.
No sill creep right here with a fully functioning window. And honestly, of all the time that I've owned this, I almost never opened this window because I didn't like to look out it. But now thanks to Chris and his crew, that's a pretty window. It's a shame if I put anything in front of it. Nothing I've been planning on doing for a while. So I think it looks pretty good. And maybe that's the whole reason why I got it done, is so I could install the Roku TV right above the window right there. Didn't make any sense to put all this effort into mounting the TV if I was going to have to take it all back down again. And I think that has really improved the usefulness of this bedroom quite a bit. All part of the plan. So almost everything is done that I ever wanted to do to my 2001 Beaver Patriot Thunder. And one of the biggest issues that I had was that the windows didn't look so good on those two windows. Dinette table's back in, and yes, I did update the chairs too. At any rate, I hope everybody learned how to repair fogged windows now, and I'm happy to say what I envisioned well over 3 years ago has finally been accomplished. So much so that I went ahead and I changed out the front TV too to a much more useful TV setup. It's bigger and I think looks a little bit better. All right, guys, it's incredibly hot. If you have any questions, feel free to contact Chris with Arizona RV Glass. He'll know what to do better than me. Because we don't want to try to pry this out and pull any of the tape. Because we don't want to pry out the window. Because when we pull out the window, we don't want this seal. Because when we pry off the window, we don't want this sealant to pull tape. Don't use your teeth. Use a razor blade. And that's why it's turn this into a food truck now. Hey, I'll have a order of, I don't know, French fries. And none of his Country Coach windows were fogged, okay? But it was an older one. Mm-hmm. And I went to go open the windows. They weren't dual pane. Somebody had changed out every single window, all the glass, to like thick tempered. Like it was like an aquarium glass for, like, you know, at a theme park.
Coach started doing that, and I think they still have pieces like that. But yeah, you don't have the problem of fogging.
They're heavy, though. I don't even know what kind of weight that added to the entire RV. Also, because I had a Bose Wave radio anyways, might as well make the TV go through the Bose Wave radio.
Sit or walk on any surface.
Hi Frida, how you doing? You taking care of Chris? Making sure he does his glass work correctly? You're adorable.